Hope you had a great bye week, everyone. Welcome back to Rams football and to Between the Horns, presented by your Southern California Toyota dealers. We're here at SoFi Stadium, site of this week's Rams Seahawks contest with DeMarco Farr, Maurice Jones-Drew. I'm JB Long, and a break in the rain to be outside at the Toyota patio. Good to see you, gentlemen. How was your bye week?
Awesome. Let's go. I'm ready. Who's not ready? Let's kick them out of here if you're not ready. Ready for the second half. Let's go.
I tell you what, I definitely need a positive outlook this week because little kids, we took a tough loss in the championship game. We weren't prepared, and I didn't do my part.
Is this the pre-Thanksgiving Turkey Bowl we were talking about?
Yeah, Turkey Bowl wasn't good to us. Our program had 4 teams in it, 3 teams won, except for mine. So I don't feel right. So I'm ready to go here for the Rams.
Thank you.
Nice big victory to get me feeling
attitude,
good.
reflect leadership.
Yeah.
Let's go.
How'd you rejuvenate, DeMarco?
Man, I took a break from ball, just, took a step back and, just recharged, had fun, walked about, I don't know, 1,000 miles.
I bet.
Got
just
your steps in?
Absolutely. Just enjoying it, just thinking about ball, thinking about this year, thinking about how you're going to attack the rest of the season. Think about it. People think this is a bad year for the Rams. You got 3 wins. How many people had the Rams winning 3 games this year? Probably none, except for you. You know what I'm saying? You had them there. But
I
look,
had them 17-0.
You got 3 wins and a bunch of opportunity left in this season. Let's get it on.
We'll talk about expectations and hopes for the second half, but let's start with a return to health for the Rams after the open date. How's everyone's thumb? Thumbs up all around?
Yeah, good so far.
All right, let's check on the thumb that really matters, that of Matthew Stafford.
I went out there in practice today and was able to throw it around. So, it is a fine balance of rest and rehab as much as I possibly can to try to let, everything in there kind of settle down. But at the same time, understanding that at some point you got to go out there and see what you got. And I was able to do that a little bit on Monday and then, full practice today, just doing everything we wanted to do. So felt pretty good about it.
So the bye week coming at a good time for QB1 and for Sean McVay and those Los Angeles Rams. But just a couple of weeks ago, gentlemen, he couldn't even hold a football. So what's your level of confidence now that he's back practicing full that he'll be able to spin it the way we've become accustomed to against the Seahawks?
I truly believe that if he could have gone in Green Bay, he would have, right? And that tells you a lot of kind of how that situation went with how everything transpired there. And so I'm very confident that if he can practice and he's practicing well and he's out there holding the football, that he's ready to go out there and spin it. Now, it's going to be important that the Rams protect him, right? And what I mean by that is you have to protect him from himself. We can't get him in situations where he's scrambling. We can't get him in situations where he doesn't have an outlet to get the ball out to. We have to make sure he understands where his checkdowns are.
Or become a receiver.
Or become a receiver. We got to make sure that we protect him from himself and allow him to go. So that means running the football. That means play action pass, having outlets, and knowing where those outlets are.
No doubt. Look, man, I'm with you. I talked to him about the thumb. I said, what's the deal? He said, I just can't grip a football. That's it. That's got to suck as a quarterback when you just can't hold the ball the way you want to, but everything else is just about fine. But I'd say this, if I was his teammate and you told me you can't grip a football, then sit your butt down, put the backup in, and let's get on about this business. Now, it didn't work out in Green Bay. I had no idea that Brett Rippon was going to play like that.
No one did.
Right. We didn't expect him to be great, right? Anybody? But I didn't expect him to be like that. So it is what it is. But you do get Stafford back. But I think job number 1 is he has to protect himself. You got to be smart with it. And you got to protect him with play calling. Don't put him in bad situations. And if the pocket breaks down, get rid of the rock as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is protect him with play calling, right? Because you'll get as a head coach and as a coach in general, you have to be outside the box. You have to be outside the game, seeing it from a 30,000 view. You can't be in it with the quarterback because when you're in it, you're like quarterback sneak. Like no, we're not doing that.
Right.
We're not going to do that, right? Like we want to make sure that we continue that thumb continues to progress throughout the course of the season because you are on a championship run.
All right, the last time we had Between the Horns together, there was a quarterback's name on MJD's mind.
There was one.
And in the bye week, there's a new backup in Matthew Stafford's quarterback room. So Carson Wentz, who was nearly a Ram way back in 2016, whose career unfortunately took a wrong turn at the Coliseum head-to-head against the Rams, is now wearing horns.
Or at least his knee did.
You're right.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're right, but it has not been the same for Wentz at the tail end of his tenure in Philadelphia, Indianapolis, Washington, and so on and so forth. But he basically took a half a year sabbatical, and now he joins the Rams with a bye week to, I guess, learn their offense. But, gentlemen, as we found out, he too was busy during the bye, welcoming another daughter to the world.
then things happened real quick last week, and I don't know if anybody knows, but we had a baby last Friday too. So came down here on Wednesday, physical, signed, motored back home by the grace of God. My wife went into labor on Thursday, so had our third baby girl on Friday and turned right back around on Sunday. So timing was great, though. I got to be there. Such a blessing, and so it's been a whirlwind trying to learn this playbook, learn this area, learn really everything as quick as I can. But I'm enjoying it.
Okay, so I'll acknowledge that this is the point you were driving at a couple of weeks ago, and we'll see whether Wentz is too little, too late for the Los Angeles Rams in the context of this 2023 season. But at least there's competition, and I think a professional capability in that room now. And as I see it from the Rams' perspective, it's not just managing a roster and a salary cap, it's also managing human beings.
Right.
And what we saw in Green Bay was not good enough. So you can't ask one thing of Aaron Donald or Cooper Kupp or this position group and that position group and not hold the quarterback room to the same standard. And it seems like they reacted swiftly to that.
I love the signing. I think when you look at Carson Wentz's career, the one thing that he has to have is confidence.
Mm-hmm.
He has to have a confidence about himself. When he was in Philly and he was playing well, he was almost borderline arrogant, right? Because he understood his abilities and how great he was. In that game in the Coliseum, I remember him like he came in there like, I'm the man, and we're going to win, and you know it, right? And he played as such. And so I think getting him into this system, understanding that he can do all the bootleg stuff, all the outside zones, he can run, he's athletic, and you can kind of get him going. He could be the backup guy, the insurance. And the one thing I always tell people about insurance, you really don't need it until you do.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what we found out in Green Bay. It's like you really don't need a backup quarterback until you do. And then all of a sudden we're scrambling. And so getting him in here, getting him comfortable, understanding what's going on, and we kind of talked about that throughout the preseason, is you have to have a valuable number 2 guy. If you look at the Jets, they don't have it.
Yeah.
If you look at the Giants, they don't have it. I mean, the Vikings had to go trade for Josh Dobbs because they didn't have it. Right? So all these teams are, you allocate so many resources into the starter money-wise that you forget about the backup guy, but you're just one play away. So having Carson Wentz here, getting him to understand and go along, you just don't know what may happen, but you have a great insurance plan behind Matthew Stafford.
They built a statue of his backup in Philadelphia, right?
Yes.
Philly special.
Hey.
Now it's the play that gets Stafford hurt. I mean, it all comes full circle in the National Football League. What about the fact that there might be a Baker Mayfield caliber component here for the Rams? We saw what they were able to do deep in last season.
Oh, wow.
We hope that Carson Wentz doesn't need to take a snap the rest of the season. But if he does, there's a blueprint for having success here and getting a starting job elsewhere.
No doubt. That Mayfield effect was real. I told you, I loved everything about Baker Mayfield except what went on between the white lines at times. I mean, it's just there's a lot left to be desired when he's playing quarterback, but the swag, the leadership, all that stuff is there. And shout out to Rams scouting. I cannot believe Carson Wentz is here because I remember when you were trying to decide between Wentz and Goff, and they said Wentz would be better early, Goff would be better late. Aren't we sitting here in that world right now? It's amazing. But you're right. When that guy was at the top of his game, he was borderline arrogant, and it was fun to watch. But who wasn't when you were at the height of your powers? But when you do get dinged, it does shatter your confidence. So, I know the name is better. Carson Wentz, everybody knows that. That's the guy that was, the second pick in the draft. I know that name sounds better than Brett Rippon. How he plays, I don't know. I can't wait to see. Can you pick up this offense? I don't know. Can't wait to see. But I remember talking about Baker Mayfield. You just got here. It's less than 2 sleeps and you're going to start him? You're crazy. And then he went out and won the football game. So who knows? Maybe the same effect will happen. But I do know this. The names are better in that room. The professionalism should be better in that room. The athleticism should be better in that room. We'll see if it translates to wins on game day.
I think the biggest thing with Carson Wentz is that you have a guy that started before a lot of games. And it has nothing to do with Brett Whippern only started 4 games before that. So you put him in a situation, a team that was a must-win or needed to win that game, and he hadn't been in that situation before where Carson Wentz has played in big games. He's been there. So maybe it's not necessarily about – it's just about being comfortable enough to take a snap in a wet game.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe it's comfortable enough to say, hey, the play is dead. Let me slide. Let me not try to throw the ball.
Be smart.
Then get it right. Those are the things that I think the Rams, if those didn't happening in Green Bay, the Rams would be better off.
You won't fumble twice in the same play. Sorry. Anyway, go ahead.
There you go.
Yeah.
The Rams don't always invest in their QB2, but when they do, Sometimes they choose first-round picks, whether it's Wentz or Baker or even going back to your friend Bortles. It's not just a return to health at the quarterback position, though, gentlemen. The idle week allows Rob Havenstein to be in a better place, Ernest Jones, hopefully Kobe Durant, Tyler Higbee, Puka Nacua. Of those names, who are you most looking forward to seeing fresh and rejuvenated for the second half push?
I'm happy Puka got the week off because he's a rookie. You don't know what the rookie wall is until you hit it. And you could tell that guy was like, wow, this is the real deal in the national. Remember that feeling?
We're done.
Wow,
At BYU, we're done right now.
It's hard. It's hard every week, and the pressure mounts every single week, and you don't get a day off. I'm glad he got the week off, so maybe he'll be recharged. And he played like gangbusters even before that. But Rob Havenstein gets a week off to heal up. No, I think it's going to take a little bit longer for him to actually heal up whatever ails him, but a week will help. You're going to need him this week, especially with Seattle, the way they rush the passer. So having him back and that leadership back is going to be monstrous. But, I mean, hopefully that week for Matthew Stafford, hopefully that was enough to where he can, grip the rock the way he wants so he can whip it the way he wants. Remember how you played in Seattle?
Yes.
Week 1? I hope we see that guy. I hope you can feel like that playing against Seattle.
I feel like you've seen that guy multiple times in the game, but then you see the guy that I can make this throw that I should make, right? And that kind of comes into it. To me, I think Ernest Jones is the guy that you hope to be back.
Oh, yeah.
Because seeing what Green Bay did running the football, right, you could tell there just wasn't that thumper in the middle that was going to deter them from running the football. And so those are kind of some of the things you're like, it's just little things like that I miss. I also think the rookie wall is very important because most guys don't, most of our fans don't understand when you're in college, every practice in the NFL is like a college game, right? Like you're practicing, you're competing your tail off to go out there and catch the ball. And that's how you played in college. And then you get into the game, it's a different level. So that rookie year, you may have a ton of success like Puka has, but then you're like worn out.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking about, I remember my rookie year going to sleep at like 6 o'clock, getting home at 5:30 and be like, all right, I'll see y'all later.
I remember seeing my first NFL roster when I made the team, and I'm like, where's everybody else? They were like, what do you mean? This is it. This is all we got. We only got
it.
Right.
Only got 53.
College, you got 150 people.
Yeah.
Let them take scout team. No, you got to take your reps and those reps. It's rough. That rookie wall is real.
And on top, you get special team. I mean, it's like I said, sleep. Sleep is the most. And then you got meetings, and you got your mind is. It's a ton. So I think this week off for all the rookies in general is going to be awesome and great. For that rookie class has been playing so well here for the Rams.
Coming up, we'll ask you guys what you want to see in the second half, your wish list, if you will. And I know that seeing Puka thrive next to Cooper Kupp with Tutu Atwell is on all of our minds.
Can I jump out ahead? Is the MVP Cooper Kupp still around? Does he still exist? Is he still that guy? Can he be that guy? That's what I need. I need that guy back.
I felt
ASAP.
I felt after the Green Bay game, we interviewed Coach McVay, and I brought that up about getting both of those guys going at the same time. And I felt like I hope he didn't take it as a shot. It was just something that, like, you have 2 number 1 wide receivers. How do you get those guys going? How does Philly get their guys going? Right. And granted, A.J. Brown is going to get his. He's been getting his more consistently, but Devontae Smith gets some too. You have that same ability here. How do we spread the ball around where Cooper Kupp gets his 8 catches, his 12 targets, and then Puka Nacua gets his 8 targets and his 7 catches, whatever it may be, to keep this thing going? Because as a defense, and I know we were jumping ahead, but as a defense, how do I cover both of those guys?
You can't.
Exactly.
You can only cover so many. Yeah.
How about what the Rams are playing for first? And then we'll get to some keys to this matchup and what we're looking for in the second half. But with a 3-game losing streak going into the bye, the Rams are now out of the NFC playoff framework as it's currently constituted. But I kind of posed this hypothetical on social media this week. If we all think the Rams could be, maybe even should be, 6-3 rather than 3-6, knowing the gauntlet they face in the front half of the schedule, then how come no one seems to believe that they can win 6 of their last 8 games here now that the schedule tilts a little bit more back in their favor?
That's a great question. Maybe, I mean, the sting of Dallas, the smell of Dallas still looms. And what happened in Green Bay when you didn't have Matthew Stafford kind of exposed how thin you are at certain positions when you lose those superstars. So there's not a lot of confidence out there in the Rams right now. The only confidence is coming from the room. And I have to point this out to people. Your opponent is not on Sunday. Your opponent is the schedule. Yeah. That's your opponent in the National Football League. It's the Rams versus the schedule they give you. So right now you put yourself in a hole because you won 3 out of the first 9 games. Now you've got to go on a run if you want to keep this thing going. And here's the funny thing. It's entirely winnable.
Yeah.
If you get your guys back and you start playing better or playing the way you played versus Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, but just finish the games, you'll have a chance to be in every single game you're in this year, and maybe you'll win more than you lose.
But let me sell you on why this week is so important. Is because when you look at the wild card picture right now, I think Dallas is as good as locked. Like, I don't know that you could be more clinched than the Cowboys pre-Thanksgiving. They're playing like one of the best teams in football, and they gave it to the Rams, so they've already got the head-to-head against Los Angeles. Dobbs in Minnesota, they're hot right now. Whether they can sustain it, we'll see. They're the 7 seed as it stands, but their remaining schedule is more favorable than the team I'm going to get to, which is the Seattle Seahawks. And that's why I feel like the Rams' best bet is to get the Seahawks out of the NFC playoff picture for 2 reasons. Because this Sunday at home is a must-win anyway, because you can't fall to 3-7.
For us or them or both?
For the Rams.
Yeah,
I think the Rams' best chance is through Seattle because it has to start this weekend. Then you would have a season sweep over the Seahawks.
Right.
And then the Seahawks go 2 against San Francisco, 1 against Philly, 1 against Dallas. They could get on a skid here really quickly, and you could leapfrog them, even though right now they're tied for the NFC West.
No, I completely agree with you. I look at it as like this. Like, if you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're 6-3, and they're terrible. They've been outgained every game, yet their record says that. Well, if you look at the Rams, it's like the Rams are the complete opposite. They've outgained all these teams and they've outperformed them, and they just lost those 3 games. Those 3 games that you should have won. So to me, I'm going into it like, listen, the key to this game here, and I know we're going to get to it, is jumping on them early and then getting to running the football. Get out of there, right? It's like 4-minute. You want to be in 4-minute situation in the second quarter. Like, get a 14-point lead, 10-point lead, and let's just start running the football. Like, let's put that pressure on Geno Smith. Let's put that pressure on those receivers and allow Aaron Donald to get there.
We said that almost every week. If you get out to a lead versus Burrows, you can beat him. Couldn't do it. If you get out to a lead versus Pickett, we did, but we just stand on it. You can win,
right.
and it didn't happen. So I'm right there with you. Absolutely. There's no way Seattle beat San Francisco twice. Anybody?
I don't think they beat them once.
There's no way.
Well,
there's
hold on.
no way.
If they do, then that creates a whole different pathway because you still got a Week 18 game against the Niners.
Exactly.
We'll talk about that when we get there.
Yeah, crazy.
But look, I know when you have a losing record at the midway point, conversations start to shift to the spring. But listen to Sean McVay coming off his bye and tell me the Rams have anything on their mind except making a playoff push.
Attack the opportunity with an enthusiasm and excitement about what's ahead. Not looking backwards, but how can we learn from the first 9 weeks, both positive and things that we can improve upon, and let's focus on those things and let's go attack it, and let's love this challenge that the NFL brings every single week, and love the opportunity to welcome some guys back, and love coaching and love playing as well as we possibly can, and let's see what the heck happens.
When he left the coaches show, you can tell this guy ain't dead. Really, you can tell he's not giving up. He's not quitting, and it's almost like he planned to be right in this situation so he could flip the script in the second half of the year.
Look, you got a second half of a season, half of a season, 8 games with Aaron Donald, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp. Like,
I'll take those chances. Yeah, I will.
Like, there's going to be moments in February where we're sitting around twiddling our thumbs, wishing for a home game against the Washington Commanders
right.
to go out and try and win. Right?
I agree.
Well, let's not relinquish that just yet here pre-Thanksgiving. All right, for the Rams to make something of this second half, though, to win 6, 7, all 8 of their games on the remaining schedule, what has to happen in your mind? Maurice, what's kind of top your list in terms of order of magnitude there?
The biggest thing to me is, I think, efficiency in the running game. Being efficient. That's 4 yards on first down, half of the chains on second down, and getting on third down, getting the first down. And whenever you decide to run the ball, that's what has to happen in those situations. And the reason being is this offensive line has to go forward. They have to go forward. When they go forward, all the passing game shows up. It just reminds me back in Indianapolis when the Rams went back to that in the overtime. They went back to their first place that they had scheduled in the first drive. It was run, play action pass. And guys are just running wide open down the middle of the field. That's when your quarterback is at his best. That's when your offensive line is at their best. So getting efficient, not necessarily running the ball 40 times, but being efficient on each down. So making sure that these gains, these downhill runs are getting 4 yards. On second down, they're getting half the chains. On third down, they're converting to first. Not calling the fly sweep on 4th and 1.
It's Ben Skoranek
Yeah,
you're talking
31.
about.
You're calling Ben
31.
Skoranek a fly?
No,
I'm
it's
just kidding.
no.
Okay,
but
so
I'm
you
just
want,
saying, like,
you want
yeah.
the second half against the Cardinals 16 more times.
That's it. Give me
Okay.
that. Give me that. And then I promise you, the Rams will be exactly where they want to go because you have everything else. You just have to force the defense to put more resources into the box. 8 guys into the box. Keep those guys' eyes on the running backs and allow these receivers to win one-on-ones.
Kyron Williams can't play this week, but can return next week against Arizona.
You just hurt my feelings. That's
Sorry
the one I
about
want. But I don't care who's. I'm with you, man. The last thing you want to do as a defense this time of year is be physical. You don't want to defend the run. It stinks. It really does. It hurts. It takes years off your career. But the teams that are physical have more success towards the end of the year. And this offensive line, I think, has really taken a giant step forward forward. So that needs to happen on game day. So I 100% agree with you. Run the football. Be more physical than your opponent. You'll have a better chance to win the football game. By that token, I'll say on the other side, stopping the run is going to be something that you need to do and be better at and really be conscious of because Pete Carroll has gone back to doing what he does best, being physical, trying to run the football just like you talked about.
No, Geno Smith is coming off a career-high passing.
No, they're still trying, but they're chasing points.
No, that's fool's gold. They are more pass-happy than ever.
They're chasing points. Yes,
Okay.
They got behind in Baltimore, but they're still trying to run it versus
Don't
Washington.
listen to Pete Carroll at the podium. They're coming out with Shane Waldron, and they're throwing it all around the yard. They got 3 receivers with this rookie. Their screen game is dynamic. DK and Tyler are doing their thing.
Absolutely, but he's going to be physical to start the game. And if he's having success, that's what he's going to stay with. Now, you got to do what you got to do versus Baltimore. I'll give you that.
Sure.
And if you want to count what they did versus the corpse of Washington's defense after they traded it away, then so be it. But Pete Carroll's gone back to doing what he's doing. He's being physical.
I disagree with you both.
Yeah.
I love November, December football, run the ball, stop the run. To me, it's about the secondary for the Rams needs to play much better, needs to grow up.
Yeah.
Needs to be able to contend with some of the receivers, including this weekend's that they're going to face. And then I need to see Tutu Atwell, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp play like Pro Bowlers the rest of the way.
That
to me is how you get
I'm
there.
with you. My original point was the DBs. Look, I think they're leading the league in DPI. That's the stuff you can't happen.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I told you coming out of camp, I said your next star is coming out of the secondary. I was dead wrong, or at least in the wrong way. Some of these guys have been penalty machines. You have got to sew that up, and you've got to be better tacklers in the back end. That's what needs to improve. But first thing they're going to try to do is run the ball at you. And if they have success, they're going to stick with it.
We're going to see some new names in the secondary, perhaps. Quentin Lake, UCLA Bruin, emerging. Good luck on rivalry week, by the way.
What was that?
The U, but right around town as if we don't play well. Chips
do
going.
that
I don't
again.
Like that.
Maybe Trey Tomlinson's is upcoming. I think a healthy Kobe Durant was starting to migrate to the outside and play more there. But they're going to get a thorough vetting here in the second half, and I think their bye week was really important.
I completely agree with what you're saying. I'm just saying that you have to run the ball. You have to be efficient enough in the running game to give those guys an opportunity.
I know.
Because if we get 2 high safeties, Tutu Atwell going deep is not going to help you, right? You want to bring those guys down so they can get those one-on-ones and take those shots. That's all I'm saying. Trust me, as a running back, I want to throw the football because it means less guys are in the box. But for the Rams and what they're doing, it's about the offensive line and protecting your quarterback to get those shots down the field because if you just drop back 60 times, those guys aren't built for that. And that's what I want to protect our quarterback and protect our line.
And the way Raheem calls his defense, he keeps those 2 safeties high. He doesn't give up anything deep. He puts onus on the defensive front to do a lot, to stop the run and then transition to pass rushers when necessary. Which means if you're running the football, you're going to take the gas out of those guys.
Exactly.
That's going to be your game plan.
My only concern is this, and we talked about it earlier, is the rookie wall. There's so many rookies that have made such an impact early in this season that eventually they're going to get worn down. Wake Forest ain't played in January. BYU hasn't played in January.
Don't come at Kobe Turner like
I'm just putting it out there. Tennessee, they
talking about you.
Missouri's over here standing on business
I'm gonna tell
right now.
Big Steve. I'm gonna
He's
clip
talking
this and
about
send
you.
it to him.
I'm just being honest. Now, Big Steve, you played in January, so you know what it's like. But again, it's just a little bit different, and that's the only thing when you play so many rookies. Eventually, that rookie wall hits, and how do you manage that as a coach and as
I
an
never
organization?
thought of that. I played in January every year in college. That might have been the difference.
I played end of December.
Yeah.
Let me give you a couple more that I
28th to the
think are
31st.
important. The tight end room for the Rams, a group that lives out of 11 personnel, has to produce something.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about just
What
like
room? It's one guy. Yeah.
But they're now carrying 4. Hunter Long is healthy and ready to go, it seems like. Tyler Higbee was banged up. We learned he's playing through injury. But that room collectively does not have a touchdown this year. And when you look at how teams have beat the Seahawks, including most recently the Washington Commanders hanging tough, the Washington Commanders use their running backs and they use their tight end. Those were 3 of their top 4 receivers. So maybe that's a blueprint to getting to this Seattle defense, because we know we love their linebackers.
Oh, yeah.
But where did the Rams win in week 1? Right over their shoulders and heads.
Yes.
Where did the Commanders win? Making those linebackers for Seattle playing coverage. Not by stuffing the run. With all
that's
due
funny.
respect.
The same game plan to beat Bobby Wagner. This is the thing. You count it as a negative, right? But you've been doing it for 15, 16 years. That means he's been in the league for that long, right? That's crazy.
Like I said, that this is the thing. When you go back to the first game in Seattle, they ran the ball 40 times. Now, it wasn't good.
It was inefficient.
It was
40.
inefficient. It was an inefficient.
They got touchdowns, though.
Right. And so to me, it's being efficient. If you can be efficient, those balls are going to zip past Bobby Wagner because he has to take those 2 or 3 steps up to stop the running game.
And then the last one for me is the kicking game. There's no path to the postseason for the Rams because their margin is so thin if they continue to take knocks in the kicking game.
Got to have a Matt Gay effect.
Like, measure it any way you want.
Miss field goals or block punts?
All of the above.
Yeah.
In terms of efficiency and the impact that it has on games, in the first half of the season, the Rams were 32 out of 32 in the kicking game. Okay?
Yeah.
And here's another where it manifests itself. The Seahawks have the best starting field position in the league. Okay? They get quick takeaways, and they have great punting and kickoff and return and all that. So you can't let them get short fields, and you can't put yourself in 80-yard drive situations.
Can I change mine from running game to just playing clean football?
Period or teams?
Period overall.
Yeah.
Clean football, which means you don't give up big plays on defense. You don't have turnovers or huge negative plays like sack fumbles on offense, and then the kicking game is just clean, right? No block punts.
Yeah.
Make your field goals. If the Rams do that, I think they're sitting here differently than
or don't kick field goals.
Well,
or don't.
Just play 4-down football.
I got a question. If you're sitting, if you got 48 yards out and you need points, are you punting it or are you going ahead and lining up for a field goal?
What's the
Remember that choice we had? Right. Yeah.
Trust the math would be my recommendation.
Trust the math. Right. Look, I guess I'd give the guy a look from 50 if you needed it. But if you had a chance to punt, if you didn't need the points, then go ahead and punt and play defense. But at some point, you're going to have to rely on the place kicker. You're paying him to make field goals.
All right, let's zoom in on the Seahawks. This week's opponents, much different but similar since we saw them in week 1. They got a couple of rookies who are really emerging. Both of their first-round draft picks look like hits in the secondary and at receiver. But I want to start with Geno Smith because, man, at halftime of last week's game, it looked like the tide was turning against Geno, that the 12s might be ready to get a look at lock. You know what I'm saying? And then he spins it around and has a career best day and leads them to a victory.
It's that bad.
Well, okay.
He's being judged by a pretty high standard, but yeah.
So Sweat wasn't there, Chase Young wasn't there, and they lost their first-round corner to, I thought, was one of the dumbest calls. They threw him out of the game.
Oh, that ejection.
Which is crazy. And then Lockett comes back in the game.
Right.
So I thought this was an egregious shot. The guy gets up and plays the rest of the game, but you throw him out. That was crazy. So Washington shorthanded. Geno looks great. But Geno is still Geno. He's still that guy. Whatever you thought of Geno Smith, he is still the same guy there. There's some things that he does well. There's some things that he doesn't see. And when you get pressure on him, his passing numbers go down. So if you can find a way to generate pressure, and it doesn't matter who you play. This is the Rams versus anybody. It just can't be Aaron Donald. I hope, and this goes back to the wish list, I hope Byron Young is a guy that gets to 10 sacks. He's got 5 so far. He's in rarefied air. Have you seen his numbers and the guys that are around him? You are in the league, man. You're one of these good players. These guys up here are making big money. If you want to be them, keep doing this. Now, keep going and get to 10 sacks. Can Aaron be Aaron? Can Aaron figure out how to go from 5.5 to over 10 in the next 7 weeks? I don't care if it's 2 games where he gets 3 sacks apiece and he jumps up the board, or he goes Mr. Efficient and gets a sack a game for the until the season ends. Either way, you got to get pressure on quarterbacks, and you got to get pressure on Geno Smith.
I would say this. It's so funny that we want players to be better than what they are, right? We want Geno to do these things. And Geno has played well. He was efficient last year. But what happens with the efficiency is you become confident. You become confident that I can do certain things. And those certain things you start to hold on to the ball because you're trying to make a throw, you're trying to make a play. And I still remember, and this will never go anywhere, Aaron Donald comes on the stunt right up the middle, and Gino goes, "Oh my God!"
He says that wasn't him, but your point's still well
that was
taken.
him. Come on,
that is who you are.
If he goes viral again this week, that'll mean good things for the
Right,
Rams.
exactly. And so for me, it's finding a way to put pressure on him.
That was you, Gino.
It
You
was.
know that was you.
It was. But another thing is, it's matchup based.
Yeah.
Do you match up? The Rams just match up well with Seattle. For whatever reason, their personnel, their scheme, they match up well. Now, the Niners is a different story, right? But when you match up well with the team, you have to take advantage of those matchups and make sure you win them.
That being said, things are different about the Seahawks in some important ways. Devin Witherspoon against Kupp in the slot, going to be a great matchup to watch. He is in the running for Defensive Rookie of the Year, like Byron Young is. Jackson Smith and Jigba, I think, has brought their screen game to life. They had, I think, a record number of yards after catch last week against Washington.
Disley got a big one.
Ken Walker is not just a home run hitting back now in the handoff game. He now has some receiving element. He's coming off his first receiving touchdown. So I feel like yards after catch, or looking at it the other way, like tackling on first contact, is going to be a determining factor
Big
on
time.
Sunday.
I like how they use Walker up there, how Waldron's been using him. That little motion out and then come back and hand it to him, that's pretty dangerous. Have you ever done that as a running back? Motion out, come back, and then...
This new age offense, they motion everybody. I normally just went out at wide receiver and came back in the backfield with the Rams.
Oh, that was sweet, though. I like how they do that. It gets them a running start. If you play that block too thick, he is out the gate fast. Yeah.
Rams actually played the division pretty well in the first half. Wins over Arizona and Seattle, had San Francisco dead to rights here at SoFi Stadium, could not get over the hump. What if they go ahead and finish this NFC West schedule at 5-1? Here are a couple of opportunities back-to-back to start the second half of their season. Home to Seattle next week, Thanksgiving in Arizona. Two teams they play well historically.
Let's get them.
I'm excited. I think the Rams can do a lot more than what people think. They just got to put it all together.
Get your little league team together, man.
No, we're done. We got out of there, man. We took this L. You know what the best part about my little league team, JB?
What?
You know, we told our kids.
You don't have to pay them?
No. You play to win the game.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We went Herm Edwards. We play to win. We didn't win, so we didn't go get second place trophies because that's not what we wanted.
Oh,
we came
my God.
We came here for the first place, and not one of my kids, to a man, parents were like, "Let's go get the trophy." No, I'm cool. I said, you know
when
what?
Did you turn into Mike
come back
Mark?
next year. Let's go to work.
No, like pizza party or anything?
When did you turn
we
into
had
Mike
little
Mark?
apple ciders and we sprayed them around because it was a great win. Guys were chugging apple cider, but we didn't go touch that second place trophy because we didn't come for that.
Hope you'll join us here at SoFi Stadium for a apple cider celebration if the Rams can beat the Seahawks and climb back into this NFC picture. From the Toyota patio here in Inglewood at SoFi Stadium, for DeMarco Farr, Maurice Jones-Drew, I'm JB Long. Thanks for being with us for our latest installment of Between the Horns, always presented by your Southern California Toyota dealers.